สวัสดีเจ้า So this is exciting. Although to be fair, I have interviewed you like a dozen times over the years, but exciting for you. That's what. So I'm here with Ajarn Vithi Phanichphant, who, gosh, I don't even know how to begin to describe you, but just basically born in Lampang, then you went to live in Bangkok, educated in Hong Kong, in California, got your master's degree in environmental design.
Yes.
Yeah, and then you came back. When did you come back? The 70s?
2514
Oh wow, 1971. So
1971
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So he came back and he was tasked with forming Thai studies at Chiang Mai
At that time,
University.
I start teaching art because my degree was basically on art, and I started teaching art with the school across from Chiang Mai University. It was going fine because it was the first batch of art students in that college.
Was that before the fine arts of
Yeah,
CMU?
way before.
You were teaching art to local
Teaching
students.
art to local students, and we were very excited because many things that this is normal, common things, but they didn't think it was art.
Like what?
For example, making normal items that you find around and enlarge, make it bigger. For example, like a key lock, instead of this size, you make it 100 times bigger. Okay.
So there's no art foundation or knowledge in
No,
Chiang
but
Mai.
I just said, at that time, it was better to make, I said, in case you want to do an advertisement of a key lock, so that could be used. But in the contemporary art, then it was pop art.
Yeah, of course, yeah, that era, yeah.
Yeah.
So how did you get to CMU and where you really flourished?
Well, at that time, I was doing the art thing with this thing, for example, order 300 kilos of ropes, 10 kids to climb out of the trees in front of the art building, and then tying the ropes around the branches of the trees together. And while you're doing that, you can, because then you don't have a flat floor to stand on, so you do sideways and all that. Then you look at those tape from different view.
Ah,
And you understand.
perspectives.
Yeah. Of course, when you look at the tape a different view, then you can explain the tape differently.
Yeah.
So, and of course, I had to teach art history. Nobody wanted to teach it.
Yeah.
History.
Thai or
Thai.
but was it Western art?
Western
or
art,
Western art.
but in Thai.
In Thai.
Until in a year or so after, the director of the college said your hair is too long. And we don't want to have long haired people teaching kids. I said, okay, bye.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So that was that.
That was it.
Yeah.
So at that time, my sister husband was teaching history,
Humanities.
humanities.
Must know my daddy. He was teaching there. Oh, really?
That's how I got to know your dad.
Ah.
Anyway, so I said, come over to get to the humanities. We need some art teacher in the communication departments. Newspaper layout, magazine layout, how do you, each form of composition, with feeling, clarity or clearness or whatever. So I became teacher of the Department of Communications.
Right.
And I was pretty happy there. And I enjoyed myself, getting to know a lot of people, including your family.
I remember those days.
And then, by the way, so I could wear my hair.
Oh, they let you have your long hippie hair.
It was not hippie, because then I was teaching and this communication student, and it happened to be this group of students in communication. They tend to be more modern, so they all had longer hair than me. And I was popular with them because they enjoyed my teaching. And they had a lot of parties and outing.
I know, yeah, you did.
And checking out the countryside. And at that time, northern Thailand was very still unknown.
So rural.
Even my teacher from America, he came visit me. It's such a wonderful country. You should explore it more. Go to the mountains, go to the hills, go see the villages. And all that. At that time, it was Wow.
Impenetrable, really.
Yeah.
No one went up there.
But there was hardly any road.
No.
So during that whole time, I was just enjoying it. Maybe the Chiang Mai University needs to have an art.
So did you pitch the idea for an art department? What year was that?
8 years after I
So about 79.
and they said, what kind of art? Because at that time, they were art teachers in different faculty of humanities, faculty of education, and all of them. And most of them, the graduates from Citylife University in Bangkok. And they have so the view of art classes, art instructions, and all that is according to their school.
Yeah.
And it was only like painting, sculpture, and printmaking.
Yeah.
And,
Very limited.
And maybe interior design. That's it. Okay. And they want to set the art department in such a way. They said, what about local art? So not local art.
Yeah, what local art?
Or the arts of the people around here. They don't have art.
Who said?
Those people.
But was there any knowledge at all at the time of any local culture art?
There's some culture, but they don't consider it as good art.
Low class.
Low class, yes. Like
Peasants.
painting. Was it exactly the northern type painting is just like really manga.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah.
Snobs.
Yeah.
So I said, well, we should study more of the area, what kind of art they have, what kind of, even though it's manga, maybe it has some character that make them, what they are, and you can enjoy it. And look at the temples, all, dumpy looking, they're not glaring gold like in Bangkok.
Not like the Emerald Palace in Bangkok. They called our temples frumpy?
Yeah.
Okay.
Of course. Well, let's have this art called maybe Lanna Thai art. So I wrote up very quickly, one page, the whole
Proposal for a whole
proposal for
department.
the whole yeah. And then about the administration, it was it could be something. They okay, you can do that one. Plus, whatever they want to do, painting like in Bangkok,
Yeah.
sculptures, this and that. I would say the ideas of art classes and schooling of the 1980s. No, 1890s.
1890s, right.
Yeah. My curriculum that I wrote for the local art was okay. But they chopped out the word Lanna.
Lanna.
Because they said it is Lanna.
Who said? Bangkok.
No, the teachers around.
Oh.
Just a Thai art. It's okay. Anything I would do.
Yeah.
Because I don't care because
It's a title.
the title is the title. But what's inside is all these classes talking about the local crafts like lacquerware.
So you called it Thai studies, but it was actually Lanna studies. So yeah, and I think that's one of the most fascinating parts because I remember in those days, when the Chiang Mai was filled with anthropologists, historians, researchers, because the mountains were beginning to open up and access. There was ethnicity. There was so much going on, right? And you were always going somewhere with your students. They were always going off. So tell us how that worked. Because you had an idea. You had a one-page syllabus. So what were you teaching?
I had no knowledge of that area, so I sent my students to hometowns, an area that I assigned to. You do this, you do the wood carving, the brackets of supporting the temple roof and all that. We do that one, and the other guys we do the lion sitting in the gates of the temple and report to me. So all these art as such. Came from my student.
Yeah.
And because they investigated and explained it. So slowly lumped together to become Lanna Art Studies.
So they went far afield, right? You went to Sipsampanna,
Yes, went to
China,
Sampana, to everywhere. But for them, they just go to, like for example, one year, one group of students, they go about normally 20. But many people, Thai art is nothing new. So they use about 12 people. They send the 12 kids to Citylife in Nepal.
Yeah.
So we just dive into this, and each one do different subject
Yeah.
of the Chiang Mai temple art or village art or whatever.
Yeah.
And then report to me and report to the public also. So there were books and books about their research.
So that was how. Well, actually, let's go back a bit. You also once said to me that 50 years ago there was no understanding of the concept of Lanna. You said if you ask
That's
people,
the art source.
right? But you said 50 years ago, if you asked the average Chiang Mai person, they wouldn't even know that King Ming Rai founded.
No, they didn't even know who was king here.
Right?
Yeah.
So there was. Tell us what was our understanding of people that 50 years ago, what our culture was. Who were
It's
we?
just like a very low class Thai culture.
Peasants again.
Eating sticky rice.
Sticky rice people. But that actually became the unifying. You now name our sort of loose ethnic group of people as sticky rice people, right?
Well, at that time, we are because we eat sticky rice, so therefore we're not that good. We said, don't worry, we find some good in you. So the sticky rice was the topic. Okay, you eat sticky rice, what you do, what kind of temples you have, even like marriages, a wedding ceremony. We noticed that in sticky rice culture, it's the boys moving to the girl's house, which is opposite Chinese, Indians.
Like those jasmine rice eating people.
Yeah, when you get married, the girls must move to the boy's house.
So we're a matrilineal society,
Not too.
matriarchal.
And
Very much
quite
so.
often, even like I noticed from the report of the students that when a pair, got married, then the boys depart from his family completely and never return. Go to stay in the girl's house, become part of their families. And because they move to the girl's house and kind of, work for the girl's family.
I like that.
Even the architecture, the teaching of the Lanna architecture, the two-pitch roof building.
What? Oh yes. You have two like that, and then patio in between. Yeah.
The one on the east side is always for the family members to sleep. And the person who sleep in the house with a little shine area would be grandma.
Okay.
Because grandma owned the house.
Huh.
And grandpa who's getting old, he got kicked out to the porch.
Yeah.
That's where he sleeps.
Oh, bless him, really.
And then, husband and wife in there, all the girls in there, the young boys stay with grandpa. So basically, on the porch. So, and then once the girl always have this is my house. Therefore, young girls, daughters cook quickly. People eat, and quickly go to bed at night.
Mm.
So she could sit out on the porch receiving
Boys. Ah.
not just receiving but talking to boys, no touching.
Oh, no, okay.
So lots of boys would come around, and quite interesting also with architecture. In front of most houses, the rice house.
Mm.
Rice house always in front of the main house, normally close to the streets,
Right.
streetway, to show that how
Right.
wealthy she is.
It's like a boy lure.
Yeah. If the rice house has 4 persons working,
Oh. How many do they have to have?
at least 6. 6 posts, okay. 8 posts, perfect. 12 holes, oh my gosh, I'm going to be a slave. so that's why architecture also reflecting the courtship between boys and girls.
Oh. Just as an aside, I actually went to Ajarn Vithi's wedding when I was about 11 years old, and it was held at Ban Sao Nat,
That's on that.
which has got like what 150 pillars. So you were in kind of trouble there.
119.
119 pillars. We had the whole.
And that's just the main house, you know. And when I later on I put Citylife, you know, and she lost her son and all that. To make her happy, so I bought her rice house in the village. That one has 24 posts. She was really happy.
Very respectful. Gosh, I never knew that. Which actually brings me to, you also said that women were the real owners of the land. And you were talking about how, Lanna was basically, well, I mean, Chiang Mai was at the Silk Road crossroads.
The sticky rice
So
factory.
explain to us,
The matriarchal society.
This is going back to,
Even
1300s.
the rulers in other areas quite often they be bamboo curtain and it's slightly behind.
what do you mean bamboo curtain?
You know, when they have a meeting with a discussion about the delegation of duties, the men decides to do, but the one who said yes or no is behind.
Sitting behind a bamboo curtain, making decisions. Okay.
And that's why for a couple, once you get pregnant or that the boy has to build a new house, so that the sister of his wife could do the courtship with the other boys. If the firstborn is a daughter, then the family really, accept the husband, boy,
In-law,
in-law.
son-in-law.
And it's almost like having a party, a wedding party, celebration of the baby. If it's the firstborn is a boy,
Interesting. Huh. I don't think a lot of
the
people know
firstborn
that.
is a girl, because you have good head of family. Let you and your wife to take care of that girl.
Yeah.
And so she become the leader of the clan.
And you also said once that if you really look at Chiang Mai, even today, most of the real business women in the power are women. Is that still true?
Because still,
Still.
you look at the owner of the land in Chiang Mai, most of them women. Even though are part Chinese and all that, but it's still,
And the men play golf and
Yes.
look cute.
look cute. Just sometimes just play when
Yes.
you deal with the world. And the last born to the husband and wife should or must be daughter.
Right. Oh, to take care in old age.
She would inherit family land and a house.
The last born.
The last born, if it's a daughter, she would inherit the house.
Why? Yeah.
This is how most families of the sticky rice eaters are. And it's interesting.
Yeah, very interesting. Huh. Okay. So, actually, can I jump now to how you've been accused by some people of either creating Lanna culture or destroying Lanna culture?
I don't know.
Well, tell
Creating
me how it
bringing
came
out,
about.
but
Khantoke, Sang.
even the
Khantoke.
Khantoke, you actually my aunt, who's good friend your mom, she with the Niman Hemin family, Chitima, they set up the Kaisi, set up the Khantoke.
ใครสีนิมานเหมิน
Kaisi Niman Hemin, he was the first one to bring Khantoke back to as a service to guests, visitors to Chiang Mai. I would say it's not the real Khantoke, because the Khantoke was served to monks.
Not at home.
Not the share.
Oh.
Because when you eat with a royal person, each person has their Khantoke. You don't share with others.
And you don't have like dancing and swords.
No.
So tell us how that came about.
The Kun Kai Si, because he was educated in U.S. He came home and tried to kind of establish the traditions of receiving receptions of visitors
Right.
to Chiang Mai, which is the Citylife Chiang culture.
Yeah.
So he brought out the Khantoke, which not only would be served to just individuals. You go to the royal dinner or something, each person has their own Khantoke.
Right.
You don't share with others. But sharing with others is very Western
The concept. Yeah.
concept.
Is it though? Because Thai people share food.
They share food, but not Khantoke.
Huh. Okay.
If you eat on Khantoke, no. But if you eat on the floor, yes. You put the mat on, put all these dishes left over, you share with other people. But eating Khantoke, you must be eating by yourself because you are somebody. You're not just sharing it with anybody. But then he said, maybe we mix the two, having Khantoke and serving food to the guests and making it more attractive. Having a lady sitting with the Khantoke serving the food.
But it was inspired from. Is that legend or is it true?
Yes, she went to Hawaii and saw the
Luau.
along with the food serving to visitors to
Pretty
Hawaii.
girls.
So pretty girls and music and all that. So that came into Khantoke dinner.
So the Khantoke dinner is
So
basically a fusion.
It became instead of just a small bowl tray like this for the one person. We have tray like that, which is normally served to the gods and all that. And 3 or 4 people sitting here, and this is one lady, obviously pretty, sitting there and serving food to guests, which is quite different. Quite different thinking and tradition-wise.
It's a Hawaiian-inspired culture.
Yeah, Hawaii inspired Khantoke inventions.
I love it.
And the people really happy, especially people from central Thailand, to eat Khantoke, really relaxed and not instead of just wearing traditional Jungaben costume and formal shirts. No, you wear the farmers indigo dye clothing, which is relaxed.
Yeah.
Sit around. And, at first, it was just okay dancing, and then later on came along fireworks, which we normally do it for the Khantoke festival.
And the lanterns, tell us about
lanterns
that.
also. And then came the lanterns, which is for lighting, and then the what goes up into the air and all that too. Plus the fireworks, so it became quite exciting.
But you said it was only used in temples. It wasn't released.
Not temple, but anywhere. But it's just used for that festival.
Right, only.
Yeah, fireworks, because at the end of the rainy season, it's like the fireworks.
Right. And so you popularized it, didn't you?
In a way.
Yes, go on.
In fact, actually, it was the funeral of Kun Kraisi that I make a huge paper balloon, going up in the air at Wat Pasing, according to the number of his years.
And he was old.
Before the balloon was daytime balloons. I used for nighttime.
For the first time. Because I remember everybody talked about it. It was just the biggest thing ever. Like no one had ever seen so many.
And even the dancing.
Oh, shocking.
The dancing, normally just the girl dancing with candles on that, but said, no, forget it. So I had one of my students at that time painted white and dressed up like the Deva on the base of the library house of Wat Pasing.
Okay.
Then he was in there, and then the balloon comes, and then at the end of the balloon, music started going up, and then this dancer painted white and carried behind the library building, just like one of the Deva coming out, and he was moved slowly dancing. Floating, passing by. And with one spotlight to follow. So it looks like a stucco sculpture was really dancing,
Coming to life.
coming to life. So then it disappeared. People.
But I don't know how you had, sorry, balls, frankly, because traditionally it was all central Thai, very proper, very deliberate dancing. And then suddenly, like, your people came out and they just had little boob tube and there's flesh and there's tattoos and they were dancing quite sensually.
Yeah.
I mean, did that cause
That,
quite stir?
yeah,
didn't it?
because in my childhood, those what I saw
Yeah.
as dancing. Okay, the dancing like Central Thai was slowly is one thing, but then the male dancing, mostly do very, it's like almost like sword dancing, but their costume is quite different. Not like the Thais, but they were tattoo. So we paint a tattoo on their legs. Hardly wear anything around here. Well, there was a costume of them.
Yes, and we all enjoyed it.
They were dancing just like individually. They had to be alike with the necks and all that.
Yeah.
Because they were fighters, so their dance reflects the movement which deal with the weapons and.
Yeah. It was more expressive. It
Yes,
was
more
more
expressive.
sensual almost. And so tell us about the backlash, because I remember there was a big conference.
A lot of people said, no, that's not.
Yeah.
Especially, one of the fashion show where you should show the Sintin Job. Because my grandma had that from the court at that time. Said, use that as the dress for the upper class lady. So all the dancers of that used to wear the Sintin Job. It's so beautiful. And then later on, I said, there's so many ways of dancing. It's not just one like this, must be like this. Because the one like that was invented by Chao Dada, because she was part of the court in Bangkok.
Dada Rasami, who was consort of Rama V.
And he was trying very hard to fit into Bangkok. So he did everything to Bangkok-nize northern dance,
Right.
which to make everybody dance the same way.
Yeah.
And even to receive the arrival of Rama IX by airplane coming into the airport, you have 200 dancers of lady dancer dancing the same way, which is it looks massive. Must be impressive, but
It's not us.
it's not us.
Talk about, sticky rice people also had sticky rice royals in those days, right? So in Bangkok, a lot of the culture came from royalty. Did Chiang Mai's culture always also come from royalty?
In a way,
But up until sort of, late last century, we had the whole, the Thaiification of the north of Thailand, right? When the central government, even going back to 100 years ago, you were saying to me that the actual policy of the central Bangkok government was to basically get our royals lazy, right? Right?
up to, I think, mostly around the Rama V period, when this area called northern Thailand, sometimes called Lanna, but actually the Lanna was
Lanna was what?
it's quite different originally.
Oh, can you explain that?
It didn't happen until number 6 king of Manra dynasty ruled the area, and his name was Lanna.
Or Lanna.
Yeah, but of course each valley has its own king and ruler.
Yeah, I know. I'm just trying to remember when you were talking about the Bangkok policy was just to get the royalty so lazy and addicted to gambling,
That was from about Rama V.
right?
At that time, each valley have their own king and rulers. But Bangkok said maybe it's best not to have each king ruling their own land. Instead, they would send up so-called governors, small governors of each town, who would train very well in Bangkok and send up this way. Not just to do this economic system of ruling the people, but learning to play cards, And all those governors came to each town and start teaching all the rulers of Lanna play cards. And they got them seriously addicted to card playing because Number the fifth also provide a monthly salary for the royalty of the Lanna. So they only have money. Yeah? No need to work, just sitting around playing your cards. So you end up every town of Lanna that period. Must be 200 years ago.
And they just lost their power.
Not just lost power. Start losing rice fields. Things that they owned, and their interest in ruling, it's gone down.
Yeah. So what the biggest loss, I mean, what do you think was the biggest loss? Remember, was it Jalda Rasami lost?
Well, she was one of the
Consorts.
consorts.
One of them.
One of the consorts. Just imagine how many you have. Over 100. Because each town in the country had to send their daughters.
Oh, so she was just one of many. Wasn't even that special.
There's a group of ladies in Bangkok that were consorts. With this we call as lounge. Not even Lanna. Lao Qian. Lao Xian. Lao Qian.
Really, that's what they called us. Yeah. But didn't she gamble away the family plot? Yeah.
Also.
So where was that?
Mostly we kind of market.
What about?
Road, Gạt Luang, the 3 or 4 guards there, including the Ton Nam Yai. The Ton Nam Yai was actually where all the shrines of the royalty put it there. But then Jadara used that property to get cash. How did you do that? We got the cash from the Niman.
Oh, really? Well, I know your family were also cash lenders to the royal.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
My grandma, yes, same way.
Exactly.
But at that time, so the Niman Himin family said, we want the land because you don't have money to pay us, so give me the land. So get rid of all these ashes of the royalties. Gosh. And Jadara, okay. So she removed all the royal shrine ashes. Yeah, got down. And placed it at Wat Sondal.
Wat Sondal.
Wat Sondal, because Wat Sondal was the abandoned temple. Nobody using it. So she put it there.
So everyone thinks that's like great historical burial ground of the royals.
Yeah,
No, the real one was lost in a gambling.
Yes.
Gosh.
Many stories about it, but I don't want to talk too much about it because grandma told me all about the Jiao. The Jiao.
Don't know if I'll get into trouble for gossiping about a long dead royal, but got to be a bit careful.
Anyway, so the Niman Himin family got all that land next to the river and built markets, and they became more wealthy. A lot of land outside of Chiang Mai, for example, the family, for example, Kun Kai Si would have the land over towards the foothills. And he was educated, so he knew that university is important. Then at that time, there was a program of having a university outside of Bangkok. And they said, oh, maybe they could do it in Lampang. But also, at that time there was a governor in Lampang who came from Bangkok also, sitting there in Lampang. And he said, oh, but we must also have a television station. Between television station and university, at that time they asked the governor of Lampang which one would be better for Lampang.
Oh, he took the TV.
So he took the TV station because it was the most modern thing over there. And then the university will go anywhere. And so Kun Kai Si said, oh, come university because I have a lot of land. So I give the free land for building the university, which is now the front of Chiang Mai University with the pavilion there.
Oh, but he did that.
Yeah, he gave that free. It's okay. land around it. He sold it. And plus, the Limanemin road.
Yeah.
It's not Kunkaisi, it's his sister.
Oh, got it. Yeah.
So we built that road, plus a Wincome Hotel.
Yes. Oh, I love that.
And the younger sister got the area south side of Puikao Road,
Oh,
all the way to Wat Jet Yard.
wow. Yeah, but
That's a lot of land.
that's a lot of land.
And they said, oh, it's bad land, because it has the crematorium
Crematorium.
over there. And they said, oh, don't worry. So she slowly got rid of that achar. Still there, but building a temple.
Which one?
Wat Santitam.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Was there. So they, oh, don't worry. That's what she called the whole area. Because it was the original name of that area. Santokto.
Santokto.
Santokto. You cannot sell land. Tokke. The lizards.
Oh God, I would not be living there.
Yeah. So she changed the Santokto to Santitam.
Sounds a lot more civilized.
Civilized with the temple built for a community.
Yeah.
So you have a new community with the Santitam area, which is land.
Yeah.
She became very rich.
But yet, talk about the royal family, their reputation has not, changed much, right? They've been known for centuries now for gambling, and it's just been in their DNA or something.
But it came from that period of Rama.
But even in my lifetime, there's been gambling suicides, there's been jails, there's been bankruptcy.
Yeah. And in the last royal couple, that really was a really sad story. Japomin, which is opposite in my house.
Oh God, the murder. Yeah.
Two of them, husband and wife shooting each other.
Husband and wife. Yeah.
Playing cards.
Oh, was it a gambling fight?
It was a gambling den. It was their palace there.
It's now like a huge condos next to
Yeah, condo complex.
Yeah. Wow.
So many details about Chiang Mai. I won't go into detail.
But so something big happened to Chiang Mai in 1996. That might be
At that
things
time,
change.
many people who said we want to bring back the glorious time of Chiang Mai. I would say around 500 years ago, 600 years ago, when Chiang Mai was really at its peak as a country. At that time, the ruling class was really strong, fighting Central Thailand, fighting Burma, fighting Laos. So Chiang Mai was an important city. It's the head of these sticky rice eating people.
Did we rule them or were we traders? I mean, what was our role?
Basically, you rule them, but you also control the routes between Western China and the Gulf, of Bengal. Because the main port of Chiang Mai was Momian.
In Myanmar. Yeah.
Now in Myanmar, then it was not.
Yeah.
It was the Mon country.
Oh, okay.
It was the Mon country there.
Right.
And they are the ones who control that port. And the system was to have the caravan route between Western China and Momian. And Chiang Mai is just halfway.
Yeah.
So every caravan must stop in Chiang Mai. Just can imagine all the trades and everything must be really wealthy. That's why I think when Chiang Mai was really peaking economically.
So, I mean, they came here. Where did they stay? What did they do? How did we facilitate
They
them?
rest, and then that's why look at the city of Chiang Mai, the old city. 1 kilometer each way, about. How many temples are
38.
there? 88 now.
38.
Alive now, but
Yeah.
it's not.
Before.
It's left over. It's like packed with temples. I mean, how Buddhist are they?
Yeah.
Seriously Buddhist? I'm not so sure. I look at the architecture of the temple. Actually, it's a hotel. because you have a wall, like that. Sleeping areas, sand in the middle. Behind is in the middle, no wall. So it's like a hotel.
So they were
Same place.
motels.
But outside that square would be the big trees where all the cows
grazing. Yeah.
not grazing, parking. Because the caravan, things at the back. That's why I said, they are hotels. They were hotels.
Why did they even bother making them temples then?
Because the monk is the manager of the hotel.
The monk is a hotel GM.
Yeah. The monks supply them with all the tattoos and
Good luck charms.
charms and trinkets and all everything. And the men would sleep inside the temple. This why the temple's always wall in, And this wall, literally, this is one hotel. And if you notice, you look at the names of the one. You don't notice the names of the one. Okay, smallest one is พวกแต้มพวกเปียพวกผงพวกภาษาจีนแปลว่า100
What means 100 in Chinese? Apparently.
That means that a person, the name of the person, เป็นนายร้อย
Like a rank.
A rank.
Oh, Sergeant so and so.
A rank and
Colonel so and so.
high up is Han.
Han. And then moon.
Yeah, and then moon.
Huh.
See?
Moon is 10,000, Han is 1,000.
So it's the name of the person. Like this temple here, just outside the wall here. What Pansao?
Pansao there.
Pansao. I said, it's a temple with 100,000 fireplaces. No, couldn't find one.
No fireplace.
Because it's the name of the person who takes care of that. Named Han.
So he built it as this
He built
motel
it as a
situation.
motel.
I don't think this is going to go in the Thai history books. No,
Not yet.
until you write it. So, I mean, as the men went off and, traveled and traded and fought.
That's why and the girls stay.
Yeah, the women, what did they do?
They stay home, controlling business. Very business-like. But Chiang Mai people are known for their receptive manners, always smiling. And the first person to come to talk to you is always a lady. Savadi Chao, come in. This is typical of the hotel business. And also, for the community, because the lady owns the land, she knows everybody, men or boys, the outsider, and quite often, it still is going about it. Boy and girl in the same village, they would get married. They always married somewhere else.
Why? More exotic?
No, they know that they don't know too much. They've seen both asses since they were kids, so they know everything. So quite often that's why the boys never marry girls of the same village. They always say, "Born up, go somewhere else." And disappear.
Actually, all the great love stories are about, boy and girl traveling across mountains and dying, right?
And that's why along all these routes, you discover many tombs which has ceramics.
I know.
Right?
Yeah.
Because they travel with ceramics also, and if somebody died on the route north and south, and they would get married, some of the things that were selling would
30 many years ago, my dad and Ajarn Vithi would go digging on weekends.
Digging around the hills here, because a lot of them were tombs of caravan boys. And the caravan photographs of caravan, you still have them up to about. I saw caravans. But sometimes I drive to Chiang Mai, I see the caravan package sitting on the roadside. It's still there.
Now?
No. But up.
When you're growing up?
Yeah. No.
When I was growing
20, 30 years ago, we still use caravans.
You're right. I remember. Yeah.
The baskets for the ox to carry.
It was still a common sight. Yeah.
And that's why a lot of names refer to the caravan stops.
So, okay, but let's go back to 96. Come on. What happened then? What happened? 700 years of Chiang Mai. What happened?
What happened? Well, I try to said, okay, you can celebrate, whatever everyone would like to do, but I said, you must learn more about yourself, your history, because there's no history class of Lanna at all.
But because at that point you were already the authority, so they were consulting with
Yeah,
you.
yeah, but they didn't even think that and I didn't study history enough. But I think for me, because they don't want us to know what happened. Bangkok don't want to know us to know about what happened to Chiang Mai. I mean, at the time, can you imagine 7 years of Chiang Mai? Most people in Chiang Mai didn't even know who built the city. What king? They said, who built the city? So at that year, I said, one of the things that I could do, instead of buying a book, I did painting, gold leaf painting, on the wall of Wat Chiang Mai, the first Wat of Chiang Mai. I did the story of.
Really? You and your students design and painted?
I did myself.
You did yourself? Oh,
I
gosh.
did the help from my temple, my family temple.
Oh, okay. So how did, because suddenly that year 700 was a big landmark, and
Yeah,
people
yeah.
really became proud suddenly.
They're proud of Chiang Mai.
Yeah.
But I said, who built Chiang Mai? King Mang Rai. That's why when if you go and take a look at now, you can document it. So, wall painting of King Mang Rai since the day he was born till he died.
Oh, don't you
What he did. What he did. So many things that he did.
But how did you, because I mean, you've been accused of or complimented for creating what they called neo-Lanna,
Lanna.
right? So, I mean, how authentic is, you
Well-
created the Bosang umbrella girls with the
Yeah,
umbrella
but
parade.
that's nothing.
How
But,
authentic is all this?
the umbrellas came from somewhere in Burma and decided to do it over there. But and the tourists love it. But actually, originally, it's not really us.
Mm.
But many things that I try very hard is to push this understanding matriarchal system, because I think we are the main matriarchal system in the world
Still.
because even though according to the Thai law from Bangkok that when you get married you must use your husband's last name, but originally here it's the opposite. See? When you get married, I mean your husband must pay respect to your the lady's ancestors.
That's right.
There was no last name then. So at each year, the family would have the festival or the dance or trance dance, and all the women of the clan would pay respect to the spirits of the mother's side, and people enjoy that because they said they get possessed by males, and they'd be drinking, fighting, and dancing all day long while the men had to serve them the drink.
Yeah.
And play the music for them to dance. Yeah, and even build the shack for the dancing and all that. Now, not so much in Chiang Mai. It's still in Lampan.
No? I've never seen it.
Annually, you must go and see it. It's something
Yes.
else to see. Yeah. But the women they said, it's not me, it's the spirits.
Ah, I like that.
And
Which
all
spirit?
day long, this kind of spirit.
Yes. But then, okay, so you're trying to push the matriarchy side, but I mean, all these new traditions, all this new understanding has created what at one point you said Lanna Inc. It's almost a business, right? Like all the Lanna spas, the Lanna hotels, the Lanna architecture. It's become a business.
Yeah, why? Because the Lanna girls grew up in that kind of background. Yeah, they didn't do anything. I remember one time I got on the bus in Chiang Mai, coming. I said this girl is working in Bangkok somewhere, in Pattaya somewhere. Actually, she came up with her family because she became quite wealthy, and she brought her family from Pattaya to go and visit her, to go to see the seashore, in Chonburi. So there were 10 of them. He said, line up, get on the bus, and grandpa sit here, grandma sit over there. Okay, if they okay now, you can pass and go.
Glass.
Just imagine, young girl. I mean, that's what people, the family expect out of her.
Yeah.
Making money, but also knowing what she's doing.
It's true. You go up country, and it is a women running things. Yeah.
And you look at Chiang Mai business, the owners of the land now, most of them, they own the land. Business, Chiang Mai Business Women's Club,
PPW. I was a member for that decade.
much more stronger than the male club.
Lines or rotaries or. Ooh,
Chiang Mai.
true. There's some
Still
power
there.
of women in
It's
that
still there.
group.
It's still
yeah,
there.
very true.
Even though they don't use the last name of the family.
No.
The family.
Yeah, it's interesting. So, okay, so we got to the point where we learned how to capitalize off the Lanna culture, and it served us well. What do you think of the last recent times, like 7 years? And has there been any change in our culture?
Well, the thing is, in this contemporary modern world, I think, Western also changing from condemning women equal to women.
So are we balancing out the other way now?
So basically, they're basically equal. And quite often, newlywed people, they don't live with either side.
No.
They go out on their own.
So that's
It's very
changed.
modern. It's very modern, right?
So is there anything more to discover? I mean, you and your students spent 4 decades, just studying deep culture.
Investigated. I wouldn't say heavy study, but investigated, start to see concept and ideas, understanding it, and bringing out some traditions that been kind of look differently than what it should be.
No, but I'm trying to think of your students, your 12 students at first, right? I mean, you must have been concerned, they're studying some random loo textile in a village somewhere. What do they do when they graduate? What do these students do? How was that knowledge that your students gleaned? How was that, did they have careers? Were they successful?
Yes, because many of them get into, certain careers that before it was considered to be for the male only.
Such as? What have they done? What are you proud of? What students are you proud of?
They said, okay, I can do, they become manager, director.
Of movies?
Of movies, also of productions, advertisings and whatnot. And hardworking and quite confirmed about themselves.
Yeah, but you created an entire generation of people who became experts, right? And they gave advice.
I'm not sure the experts are not.
Oh, many of them are.
Many of them are, but I retired 16 years ago.
And he's got another interview in half an hour, so you're not that retired.
From the art department. So
okay.
I let them develop. So that batch of students, 10 to 15 groups.
Yeah. They represented Thailand on the world stage, culturally, and they brought back the revival. They've been a very important part of the revival of
And
Lanna.
most important is the understanding the patriarchal system in Southeast Asia.
This is something you focus a lot on in this interview, more so than in my previous interviews with you. Is there some reason you're trying to insist on it, or is it some new discovery?
No. It's just something that I felt it before.
Yeah. And who controls you?
I'm not sure. Him.
Of course.
Because growing up in both sides, matriarchal and patriarchal, then you understand it. Because being in America for almost 10 years, I understand it. In America, many problems of the matriarchal and patriarchal. First time I went to college was in Orange County. It's very conservative, very patriarchal.
Also.
Americans, Christians. But then growing up and then moved to UCLA, quite different. And living in Santa Monica, Los Angeles, and the area near the beach, people tend to be more open,
Right.
welcoming,
Liberal.
and more liberal, and more equal between male and female.
So back to Chiang Mai, do you think we're doing a good job at preserving our culture? Because there's a lot of community groups forming, a lot of local creativity.
I hate to say that you must understand that Chiang Mai was completely empty 300 years ago. Nobody living here.
Yeah, can you explain that a little bit?
Because the Burmese came and took us over there to Mandalay. And many of us here also taken down by the Siamese who came and took us from Chiang San, especially Chiang San people who were the very good craftsmen, taken to Bangkok to stay in Bang Phu
Oh.
and build the Grand Palace.
We built the Royal Palace?
Because they had no craftsmen at that time, because the craftsmen had taken to Burma. So we went to sack. We and Bangkok went to sack Chiang San, got all the Chiang San craftsmen down to here and Bangkok and build the city of Bangkok.
So Chiang Mai was literally empty. Like there were tigers roaming the streets. For how many years?
At least 50 years.
Like nothing. So how did that? Yeah.
That's why all these temples were abandoned. And when we built the temple, there's only a few only in the city. Before there were 100.
Really? More than this?
Like what Pasing, you see, there are 3 temples in there. Just that one what?
You mean motels?
Yes. Because they're used as motels.
Yeah.
And a lot of them, see, a lot of temples north side of town, or the JDs.
North.
North,
Oh yeah.
North of Chiang Mai.
Yeah.
All the way there. Because those are temples, hotel temples, all the way up to almost to the Sanam Kila.
Oh, municipality. Really?
Yeah. And I remember when they first came here, they stayed with Michael Click and on the highway where the Lanna, which is Lanna Hospital is. There used to be 6 temples there.
Really?
Yeah, 6
I don't remember
JDs.
Where they were gone? So just quickly, how did Chiang Mai have its sort of renaissance? How did those temples get to be, it was like 150, 200 years ago?
No, that was 500 years ago.
No, but there was a second renaissance, wasn't there, from the teak industry?
Oh, the
wasn't
tea
it?
industry didn't do much.
No, they didn't do too much.
Not too much.
I heard the Dow.
More in Lampang.
Oh,
Because the British and the French tried to divide the land.
yeah.
To the east, like for example, Praia and Nan should go to French.
Right.
And then Lampang, Lamphun, Chiang Mai should go to British. So we
Quite
got
right.
the British consul buildings still there. Now this is by the forestry department.
Not an entire one.
Yes.
That one, yeah. I knew.
Next to Wat Tupok.
Uh-oh.
Go there, see big building there. Next to what's his name's house?
Leon Owens.
You know it.
It's like playing a quiz game.
And the Bombay Burma company is still there.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
the East Asiatic company, which is Dutch.
Okay, we're going to have you back. We are, because it's just like
So many details.
so much information. But I think for today, I think we've got so much. And I know you got another interview by someone who has audacity to also want to do an interview with you in English today.
Okay.
But I'm sure they're lovely. But Ajarn Kha, thank you so
You're
very
welcome.
much. And I would love to have you back. And, if you have any further questions, do you mind if I'll read it? Our viewers send me and I can ask you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Kha. สวัสดีเจ้า